And welcome back. Today we are flying out the A-6E tram, and yes, you can see by the title, it flies a bit like a city tram, but overall it's a pretty decent grinder. I don't think it has the best flight performance and is definitely very gimped, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to take a look at a completely new airframe that we are not very familiar with. So I thought that this was a great opportunity to look at two things. I want to do the Unfiltered thing where I upload every game I did, every kill, every death, as well as the thing where I give you my thought process of learning new vehicles. I made this on the Donye 335, which I never flown out before. And there's just not many planes in this game right now that are completely different to anything we have. So I thought this was a great opportunity to do both together. Because when I make highlight reels or cherry pick footage, then you cannot really show you everything I think of. Because well, there's just too much downtime in between. And before we get started, thank you to all my Patreons and YouTube members, as well as everyone looking to pick up this decal or this premium. I don't recommend you to buy it, but more of that later. You can do it with the discount code down below. I get a cut, you get a discount, and you get the decal with it, or any other purchase that you make. So how do we find out what the A-6E flies like? Well, first of all, we're gonna pretend to be a tram and just ram it through the middle of the map and kind of start dogfighting people. I do know that this thing compresses quite badly. I can tell by the fact that it doesn't pull whatsoever, and I know that it has a decent amount of lift by the fact you can take off at like 300 kilometers an hour. So I go a little bit vertical, I try to go somewhat horizontal. I see the MiG-21 pull in instantly, so I just go horizontal here. I try to stall him out. I know I don't have to go prolonged, and I instantly get a little bit of information and notice I need to go a little bit slower. I notice that I started to turn a lot harder at about 900, so I need to make sure that I keep that in the back of my mind. So that fight is instantly going to set me up with a thought process of how I'm going to handle the next enemies. First of all, I want to go a little bit vertical to shed some speed and also build up an energy advantage, and I want to make them go up for me, especially all the MiG-21s. They will bleed a lot of speed and I might be able to get some early positioning in. Secondly, I know that I want to turn at high speed. I don't want to go too fast into the merge and give them a lot of position, because if something doesn't turn too well for a sustained period of time and you hold your speed quite well, the issue is that the enemy is simply going to be riding your ass. So the next MiG-21 that we get, the dogfight or anything that we can merge with and has pretty bad energy retention for that matter, we will try to go a little bit vertical. And then after we do a little bit of a horizontal sweep, we will start going horizontal and try to bleed them off their speed, depending on their speed as well. Secondly, I know that at 10.0, with the current sales going on, there is going to be a lot of premium Harriers, a lot of premium stuff without flares. And I know roughly which vehicles they are, so I will be focusing Harriers in general. You can't run into the GR7, you can run into the AV8, but that's on your team, and it's called the AV8. And most of the Harriers that you run into during this period is going to be a flareless one, and they're gonna struggle dodging these AIM-9Ls. And just like that, we get 3 kills very, very quickly. And I reassess the situation. I just look at who I can engage, and there is a little bit of a battle plan, and this comes through experience. I know that this airframe is not going to be the best fighter. I know that it's going to be a little bit of a loiter around and try to not get into a carry situation. So I try to also just fly with my team, ram it through the middle as well. I do it for 2 reasons. I try to learn the vehicle by flying it as risky as possible. And secondly, I know that this isn't a great mobile, so I need to make sure that I can affect the game with my team around. So people get distracted, I can third party people, and I don't have to worry about ending up in a 1v7, because that's just not a situation you are going to be winning in this thing, because well, I mean, the performance just isn't there. And for the loadout, of course, I will always be carrying 1 gun, because otherwise it's like flying around with your dick in your hand, and I've covered this very often. I don't like to be useless the second I'm out of missiles. 1 extra missile is going to at most get me another kill, very likely won't, whereas another gun will net me a lot of kills. Just like this thing, you just have to aim it off center, because well, the Gunpod being on the left side is a little bit awkward at times, but overall it's really not that big of a deal. You see a German MiG-21 coming in, very likely to be an SPS, boom, down he goes. Thank you, premium players. And this is why I say the SPS is absolute trash during sales, because your enemies are also going to be in premium vehicles. Keep that in mind. Your enemies are also going to be spamming these things out. And A-10s are very prevalent. Su-25s are very prevalent. And planes like that, as well as the MiG-21S, I mean, you're not going to have a great time. Look at that kill feed. They lost like 7 people in the span of 10 seconds. because no one has flares. And if you don't bring the gun on the SPS, for example, well, you don't have a gun, which again is not gonna net you much, because most of your enemies are going to have flares. And when they have flares and you have R60s, you can bet your ass on the fact that you're not gonna be killing anything. So we still have 2 missiles left. There's an F4F. And because the matchmaker right now is a slight down tier, that has to be the early one. So I know he doesn't have flares either. And when a Phantom doesn't have flares, I don't really have to worry about anything. I know that if I can get in range, I can get the missile off, he is simply going to die. He is not going to be dodging it without flares. So I just break off. I just let this guy do its thing. Maybe the Harrier will go for us. If the Harrier goes for us, I will break off a little bit. And keep looking at the F4F so I can missile him in the head-on if he actually comes in. So I try to get underneath the F4F here. And then make sure that he doesn't get into the sun, but he actually uses it perfectly. I thought the sun was far enough away, it wasn't. So I just spray him already locked in. I'm not gonna break over there, I'm too slow to dodge. And he's going to get a free kill on us. But I want you to take a look at our speed. We're going straight vertical, we're turning after him. I'm noticing that the flaps do quite a bit. And again, more bits of information. Not gonna shoot the missile, but then I see the GR1 die. He's the last dude. So I'm just gonna shoot a missile off. And that's going to be easy game. But I noticed in that vertical that I kept my speed really, really well. And I don't have to worry about that too much. I just have to make sure that I finish it quick enough. So now I need to find a balance between going aggressive enough so I can kill them, but not too aggressive to the point where I overcommit. But I will always try it at least once to see what it will handle like at low speed, medium speed. Just to store some information on what this plane flies like at different airspeeds. I try to pull in for the Su-22, I compress completely, so we just rush straight in. A lot of enemies around. I'm not really too worried about half these planes. A-5C I'm not going to be shooting in head-on with. I know he has flares. Jaguar, the exact same scenario. So I'm not going to shoot at these things in head-on, at least not with a missile. It's a complete waste. So I'm just going to line up, spray a little bit, dodge the rounds and leave. I don't want to get locked in a fight right now. I'm not in a good position to do so. And it's just asking for trouble. I try to throttle drop a little bit to pull on a little bit quicker. He's going to go vertical. That missile's going to have a very easy time tracking in. If I had actually aimed it up a little bit. I wasn't aware that he was going to pull vertical like that. And if I had known and I would have leaded it a little bit earlier or let it, it probably would have curved in. But it didn't. No big deal because he's going to get cleaned up by a teammate right afterwards. Su-22 is directly below us, so I'm just going to dive on him right now. Zero throttle. I don't want to compress too much because my turning circle is going to get so wide that I'm not able to engage anything. And if you're wondering why my gear is missing, well, I tried to close it when I was taking off and it instantly broke off. A little bit unlucky. Su-22 gets slammed out of the air. That's why I was waiting with my missile, because there's no need to shoot it when there's already one on the way. Sure, that guy might miss it, but if he doesn't, I've just wasted one. And I'm not looking for easy kills, I'm looking for easy wins. So I'm just gonna leave the missile until it hits him, unless it's a very high priority target and I know that my missile is going to be tracking it. Then I will gamble on it, but it will also depend on the missile that's been shot right next to me. So now I'm going 1000 and I'm just looking around a little bit, waiting for who is engaging us. Just finding everyone on the map and making sure that I can start climbing a little bit, start banking some of that energy that I can then use to dive in. Because, well, the acceleration isn't very good, but you can always accelerate by diving and that will negate the problem just a tiny bit. So who do I want to engage now? Well, I'm mostly just looking at the Jaguar, hoping for him to turn around so that I can start going head on with him again and maybe spray him down in the head on. But there's also an A-5C on our right, as well as a MiG-21 directly ahead. Right now my thought process is, I want to go for the MiG-21 and I want the third party in with a missile. The issue is A-5C cuts us off and pushes us into the Jaguar, but the Jaguar instantly gets killed. We then start a little bit of a dogfight with the Jaguar. I try to go underneath him, A5, sorry. And I'm just trying to pull in behind him here because he's completely occupied by looking at the A10. And we just try to lead the rounds. We just miss. I pre-flare in case the A10 shoots a missile at us. And we fall directly on top of the A5C. And you can tell at these speeds, well, the plane isn't turning too well. It turns very well at like 900. But at low speed, it feels a little bit like a boat. And I just want to make sure that's actually the case. So I will be dogfighting a MiG-21 or something like a Harrier. Something like that bleeds a lot of speed to see if my theory is correct and it will actually work. Because if it doesn't, I need to fine-tune it by trying. And that's just the real way to find strengths and weaknesses of your plane. You need to fly it, you need to kind of know your enemy plane, know what it's bad at, and then try to abuse their weakness and see if it gets you anywhere. If you're abusing the enemy's weakness and you're not winning, you're either flying it wrong, their strengths are too strong to overcome by using their weaknesses, or you actually outdo them in their strength, so you don't have to use their weakness, you can just use their strength better than they can. I know that sounds a little bit convoluted, but trust me, it's not as black and white as try to go vertical or try a turn fight. We try to push ahead on, he's trying to dodge somewhat. I know that he's trying to go vertical, he's not going very quick right now, so I'm just gonna dodge his guns. And we're gonna go vertical, and look at the speed difference we have right now. The MiG-21 SMT lost a lot of speed, but the issue is, because it takes so long for us to complete the second turn, he's gonna be long gone before we get our nose on him again. So I'm just gonna try to lock him up with a missile that is in range, and if he doesn't cut his afterburner, he's actually gonna have a little bit of an issue, but he does, and he pops one flare, and my missile is instantly useless. But it was worth a shot, because a lot of people at this BR do not drop their afterburners. They're not very used to AIM-9Ls, despite every A-10 ever having them. They're very used to them being shot in the head on, which are then very easy to flare. I then taunt the MiG-21 a little bit, because I'm just trying to look for information. I'm trying to find ways to beat this guy. And this time we actually go in a head on pretty equally. And I need to slow down a little bit, so I'm gonna go vertical, bank my speed, and you can tell that when I go about 900, this thing starts turning quite nicely. It's not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty good. And I was hoping for this guy to go vertical here, keep this fight up, because I would have 100% gunned him out of the air, and if I had a missile here, he probably would have died. And we get a 6 just like that. The issue is the SMT broke off just in time. If he had stuck a little bit longer, we would have reeled him in very easily, and we would have just killed him right there. But he's playing it a little bit passive. We can use our strengths, but if he doesn't stick in the fight, I'm not gonna get anywhere. So we're gonna do it a little bit different. We're gonna try something new, and we're gonna try to make it so that he can't actually run from us. So we are gonna air brake a little bit, dodge the head on. We lost our speed a little bit too quick, and I should have throttled up a little bit sooner and not throttled down as much. And I shouldn't have air broken there, but I'm trying to get behind him to see if I can get this guy real slow and then maybe snap in. But again, even with the flaps, I know raid fighting with flaps is bad, but I'm trying to get a shot here. But look at the speed difference. He is just able to stand on his engine, and this is where we lack the acceleration part. Another A-6E is coming in, so I know I was safe to do this. That's why we went so balls to the wall, because I know I have an easy way out. I know there is an A-6E around that can clean him up if it doesn't end up working out. We're only going 600 still, we're still diving, we're still picking up speed. And look at his speed, he's not going very quick. The issue is the MiG-21 will bleed a lot of speed, but will also regain it very quickly. This thing is the exact polar opposite. But because he's now engaged with the A-6E, I can turn back in, and my hope was that he lost so much speed in that fight that I could start reeling him in. The issue is that he almost killed the A-6E instantly, and nothing really happened. He's out of fuel. He had like 2 more minutes of fuel left. I told him AA isn't working this patch currently, which is a fucking blessing, by the way. He said, oh no, and he still tried to go RTB. If you're gonna be out of fuel, just send the fight. At least try to kill him, because on the runway you're not gonna be surviving. So you're better off trying to kill me while you still have fuel and then glide back to the airfield. The way you did it there, just a massive mistake. You really weren't going to get anything done there. So we turn out a little bit to let the match settle just a tiny amount, so we can start looking at people again. German MiG, he's very high, he's not really looking around, he's not really changing his target, probably an SPS. Yep, there he is, easy kill. Another MiG-21 on the deck, we lock him up, and I mean, he's not very quick, he's full send for a guy already, so I'm just gonna lock him up too. And the missile's on the way. Oh, another SPS. Thank you for the kill. And now we already cleared 2 of them, but there's just too many Su-25s on the left here. And the Su-25 just really has my flight model. But I think it's better. It's mostly the acceleration. It holds its energy quite well. It accelerates extremely quickly. And the maneuverability isn't all too bad. It's a little bit awkward to fly the Su-25. But it's definitely capable, especially against a plane like this, because the Su-25 flies very similarly to this thing, except, well, it's just different. They fly in a very similar way, but with the MiG or with the Su-25 is mostly the acceleration, and with this thing it's mostly the retention. But the Su-25 is definitely a lot more forgiving to fly. I then see a lot of enemies around. The Harriers already getting missile shot at him, so I go for something like a MiG-21 that's likely just gonna be not flaring it. He's also busy shooting at someone. I'm waiting for the flares to disappear, but the A-10 then flares for the enemy. Completely unnecessary, but you know, it is what it is. I'm just gonna carry on our merry way, because that MiG-21 is looking pretty bad. He's looking pretty slow, and we're just gonna go for this Su-25. The Harrier and the MiG have the work cut out for them, because there's quite a few enemies around there that all have a lot of missiles, so they need to be careful. The GR3 actually shoots down an A-10, and the other A-10 is just heavily ground pounding. He's probably eating shit in second as well. There he goes, he gets missiled. And now I know that it's a MiG-21 MF, so he actually does have flares. And he has 4 missiles instead of 2. I need to be aware of that. And the Su-25 is just completely avoiding me. But in the meantime, well, the MF gets sprayed down in what I suppose is going to be a head-on. And I'm behind the Su-25 here. I'm just going to be spraying. This is actually the first few times where I actually have to aim the gun. Other than that previous Su-25 that I killed, which we totally didn't crash into. So I air brake a little bit to make sure that we don't overshoot. We spray him down. And PTSD kicks in from the Su-25 that we clearly didn't fly into. And we just spray him down to make sure that we actually get the kill for it. The Harrier then runs back to the airfield. And in the meantime, the A-10s killed basically every ground unit. So, well, L, I guess. Head on with the Harrier. And we test our theory yet again. We go vertical. And then after banking some of our speed, we just go into a little bit of a horizontal turn. And we basically try to just raid fight the Harrier in an advantageous position. I'm trying to go a little bit downward here, pick up a little bit of speed to go quicker. I should have throttled up here, but I didn't. I completely forgot about it. That's just my mistake. And I'm going to be catching the guy quite rapidly, despite the fact that I am not throttling up enough. Because look at this, I would have killed him right there, and otherwise the pass afterwards. So I hope that even though I didn't kill him, it does portray the capability of this vehicle at least a little bit. Of course, we came into that fight with a lot more energy, but he was going at least 8 to 900. And without the VTOL stuff, the Harrier really doesn't stand a chance in a dogfight versus almost anything. That guy is just not going to be flaring it, and even if he did see it, he was completely dead. So we just carry on our merry way and look for the next victim. And the MiG-21 over there is looking pretty spicy. He's shooting at someone, he's definitely occupied. And we just wait for him to shoot his missile. We wait for that missile to connect in case it does, because I don't want to waste it. It does connect, and we keep our missile in the bank. Another MiG-21 that's ahead of us, but he is uncontested right now. There are no missiles in the air, so we shoot it off, and that guy is going to be dying, so I don't even have to worry about looking at him. 3, 2, 1, just kidding, it misses. Harrier GR1 shoots a SRAM at us. Very easy to flare, so we do so. And we go a little bit vertical. We try the same theory. He instantly gets missiled, but it just doesn't work at low speed, because this thing doesn't have energy generation. It doesn't have the ability to accelerate, especially in these turns. It keeps its speed, but it won't get any new speed. And you need to keep this in mind with people on your 6, because if you start raid fighting people at like 600, because this thing is just too much of a tram. It's really, it's not that agile other than some certain speed gates. But LA5, we shoot him in head-on. He dodges us. He actually chases us up when he's already being shot at in the head-on. I don't understand these people. Like, why would you turn around in front of an A-10? I know you are troll squatting in an LA5, and I should not be even remotely upset about this or even remotely surprised. But like, there's another guy already shooting you. Why would you turn your ass towards the guy you are never going to be catching? But you know, or why do you try to chase someone you're never going to be catching to just give your ass to a guy that's already shooting at you? But whatever. J35 is in front of us. I'm going to be trying to cut him off. I'm looking at the targets he can go for, and I'm trying to like intercept his flight path, but also keep in mind that the MiG-21 might get close to us. So we go vertical. I notice that the MiG-21 is not going for us, and I'm just trying to get some long range shots in here, while also making sure that the MiG-21 doesn't go for us. Unfortunately, the MiG-21 does go for us. He misses the guy on my 6, and I shouldn't have pre-flared, because there was a chance that he would have just shot another missile at us. So we merge with him, we fly up and over, but we're just too slow to test our theory. So I'm just going to try to stay inside of a turning circle, because he's going a lot quicker than us. But he breaks off and he gives us his ass. And we are going to be chasing him until he wants to engage us again. After a little bit of staying on the deck and trying to stay around 900, because that's our optimal speed range, we're going to wait for him to engage us. And he does actually do it, which is great for us, because we can actually have somewhat of a fight. And we're gonna first cut into his flight. We go up to bleed some speed and make sure that he tries to bleed some as well. And then we go into the horizontal. Does he chase us up? No, he does not. The issue is that the SMT is pretty damn strong. It's not like the MF, which bleeds even more speed. It's a little bit tighter, turns a little bit better in the short term. But the MiG-21 SMT just has an absolute chonker of an engine. So we try to cut him off because I know he's trying to fly towards the airfield right now, because that's what everyone does. And he just gives us his 6. Now I want to make sure that I pre-flare here and there to make sure that the F5C doesn't actually end up missiling us down. And now it's just a matter of trying to spray at him enough so he tries to stay defensive and predict where he's going, while also accounting for the offset gunpod. We gun him down and we go into the last match, which is actually an 11.0 up tier, in which we managed to get an ace. So how do we go about it? First of all, I want to shoot at people that are clearly not looking at me. This guy is turning around mid-map. He's not going to be looking behind him, because if he was, he wouldn't be turning around right now. He gets shot down, and above us is the MiG-21 from the last game. And he actually flew it somewhat correctly, so I know that I have to keep my eye on him. A-5C goes underneath us. He rockets. He then, after rocketing, instantly turns the smoke on and then flies in a very, very straight line by not moving at all. So I have a feeling that this guy is a bot, or that he's looking at my missile. Either way, I'm looking behind me. I think it's not worth it. I'm going to keep this one because I have a feeling it's a bot. And I don't mean a bad player. I mean an actual AI bot kind of program that's flying the plane for him. And you can see me contemplating about what to do. And I see all these people around. I see these people behind me. And I think to myself, I can use these missiles better. I will try to win the game by third partying the enemy team. The J7E is not counting for me at all. And I'm waiting a little bit to see if he actually doesn't see me. Waiting a little bit longer. Waiting a little bit longer because it's been in range. He's just not reacting to me at all. And then I notice the pull for that F5. I know he's not looking at us. Boom. Missile out. J7E gone. Which is a massive target in this thing, because he outdoes us at basically everything. Other Harrier is going for the other guy, and I know that this is a GR1. It's a full up tier. We cannot see the GR7. We cannot see the GR3. It has to be a GR1. He doesn't have flares. He's busy looking elsewhere. We shoot him out of the air. The SMT from last game then missiles someone else down, and I'm starting to notice a little bit of a problem. He has 4 kills. I don't know if they're all missiles, but I know that he's at least pulling his own weight, so I know that he's not disabled. Sure, he can get a lucky game, but considering last game as well, where he didn't start dogfighting people in the middle of the map, he was trying to separate people, he showed battle planning, and he showed not like super pristine skills or anything, but he shows that he knows how this game at least works. He is experienced at top tier, and an experienced MiG-21 pilot is dangerous in this thing. It definitely is, especially something like an SMT. And I'm contemplating about rearming, because there's still 3 enemies in the air, and I'm about getting more missiles so I can missile these guys down. But I'm thinking to myself, these teammates are going to be dying in the meantime, because they are outnumbered. They're all F5Cs, and they're very likely to be new F5Cs. And I just don't feel like going 3v1 or 2v1 at the end, even though I have missiles. I'd rather help out my teammates when they are actually keeping them somewhat slow and busy. Because nothing is worse than a MiG-21 that actually has time and room to kill you. This MiG-21 turns around. He has been killing the bot for a bit, and he's just completely occupied with doing something else. So we click him and we shoot him out of the air. We then turn on to the other MiG-21, and I see that he's also going for a bot. And then he breaks off, and I'm telling myself, oh, please do not. And what do? They ram each other in a huddle. So now it's 2v1 actually. We killed one of them killed themselves, and we have 4 kills. We have a teammate left and an F5C, and now I kind of want to get missiles, because, well, 3 missiles against 1 enemy, especially AIM-9Ls, which are pretty flare resilient. I mean, pretty good odds. So I want to turn around and say I want to go back, and this guy is not really replying to us. He is kind of gonna stay ground pounding for a little bit, but eventually he's actually going to stay with us and come to the landing with us. So I turn on the IR-on-V scope, I look for targets, and there he goes. The A-5C actually crashed because he was out of fuel. He crashed into the water, and it actually did turn out to be a bot, or just a guy that went AFK after bombing and then just all tapped out. Either way, he was AFK grinding, and I was flying towards him because I saw a little dot with the radar, or with the IR-on-V scope. I was looking for him. but he crashed into the water, so now I'm not too fussed about getting the kill anymore, because I was smelling that 6-kill game, you know. So now I don't have to be hasty, and I just want to stay a little bit closer to my F5C. I look up, I see a missile, stay vigilant, but we're not going very quick right now. We're at least going 800, so I'm trying to go a little bit downwards in this turn, so it keeps my speed somewhat higher. And then we go up and over, but this guy is going very slow, and we can tell. And if he starts outbraking me behind me, I am done. So what do? I break off, I try to get some separation, and I try to fly towards my teammate, because we have one. Why not use it in a plane like this? We flare a little bit, we don't have to be too conservative with him. There's one enemy left, and we have 60 anyway. So right now, we're pulling him on our ass. Once the F5C starts pulling in, I break off to give him a choice. The F5C gets an easy ass on the guy, or he goes for the F5C, and then I can re-engage him. Either way, when you have a teammate, do not fly into his direction. Don't give them a head-on while he's still on your 6. Make him choose to go head-on and give position to us, or make him choose to stay on us and give position to our friendly. We go head-on, we shoot a missile off, it doesn't actually curve in. No real big deal. And we're just gonna flat turn here, we don't have to go vertical. The F5C is reeling his ass in. He starts flaring, he starts, well, out-accelerating him again, I think. And I just want to make sure that he actually dies, and I don't want to team kill him, so I shoot the missile straight up, and it's going to loft over the teammate and fly straight in the tailpipe of the MiG-21. Down he goes, and that's the game. If you're wondering about the rewards, I can't really show you, because with the test drive that I get, you only get like half rewards, so it's not really representable. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed it, hope it was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next one.